Imagine you are in the city and it's nighttime. There are vehicles, billboards, light on lampposts, on houses, and on traffic lights. Up there, somewhere in the sky, is the moon, but you don't even notice it. There are too many artificial lights down here to look at the sky. Then suddenly, all lights are off. The power is gone all over the city. The vehicles stopped. Everything down here is in darkness. But you notice now a light coming from the sky. It's the moon's light. When you look at it, you see that it's surrounded with many shining stars. They were always there, but they were spotted only when everything went dark. That's exactly what Paul said, that the Philippians must be in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you must shine as lights of the world. Sabbath School Like presents the series Uniting Heaven and Earth. Lesson 5, Shining as Lights in the Night. Doesn't what Paul write to the Philippians about shining as lights in the world remind you of some of Jesus' words?
Yes, he said, I am the light of the world.
And he also said, you are the light of the world.
And so, who is the light, Jesus or us? Listen carefully. Jesus is the source of light. We are a reflection of his light. That moon shining at night doesn't shine with its own light. The moon only reflects the sun's light onto the earth. The same happens to us with Christ. He is the Sun of righteousness, our source of light. When we revolve around Christ, we reflect his light into the world. Do you notice? A true Christian doesn't shine with its own light. In Philippians 2:12, Paul says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. This sentence, taken out of context, seems to mean your salvation depends on you, your brilliance, and your strength. But remember that every sentence taken out of context becomes a pretext. The truth is that right after, in verse 13, Paul says, for it is God who works in you both to will and to do for his good pleasure. Do you notice the word works? Yes, our good works illuminate this dark world. But we are not the ones who produce them. God does. And they are seen, just as the moonlight is seen when the light is gone in the whole city. So this week's question is, what is the evidence that we are shining as lights in this dark world? First, blameless and harmless. In Philippians 2:15, Paul says that to shine as lights in the darkness, we must be blameless and harmless. Let's stop here for a moment because these two words are key. Blameless or unblemished, from the Greek word amemptos, is the same word God used to describe Job when he told Satan that he was a blameless man.
Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shun evil?
Does that mean that Job was flawless? No. When we read the book of Job, we find a man vulnerable to sin like any of us. Blameless doesn't mean perfect in the sense of never failing. It means that no one can point to you as someone who does harm, acting with ulterior motives, or living a deceitful life.
It's like saying, it's not to ever make mistakes, but to do not live with ill will.
Exactly. Job wasn't flawless, but he was trustworthy. And this is what makes a light shine: consistency. And the other word, harmless, is also interesting. It's the Greek word akeraios that literally means unmixed, pure. Do you like pure orange juice?
Oh yes, it's the sweet nectar of life.
And what if we dilute it by adding water, sugar, and some food coloring?
That's now an identity crisis juice.
Right. Half natural, half artificial. It still has the color, still looks like juice, but it doesn't have the same strength, the same taste, or the same value. And that's Paul's focus. A mixed Christian might still look like a Christian. He might still speak a correct speech. He might still attend church. But when faith is mixed with deception, with ulterior motives, with inconsistency, the light weakens. Do you notice? It doesn't stop shining, but it no longer shines as brightly. Paul doesn't tell the Philippians, shine brighter. He tells them, in essence, do not mix with darkness, because light doesn't compete with darkness. It just exposes it. A blameless and harmless life with no mix doesn't need propaganda, shouting, or to prove anything. It simply shines like the moon in a dull and dark city. Second, living sacrifices. Let's stay in our dark city. You have things to do. You can't stay all night gazing at the moon and stars. So you enter your house and you light a candle. You have light again. But wait, the candle is melting away until it disappears. Does it seem right? The candle is sacrificing itself for you?
Let's not be dramatic. It's just a candle.
It's just fulfilling its purpose.
Exactly. And that's the point. Listen carefully. When we talk about sacrifice, many immediately think of something sad, burdensome, or painful, as if sacrificing were synonym of losing, suffering, or being left with nothing. But Paul shows us a completely different thing. In Philippians 2:17, he says something surprising. And if I am being poured out as a drink offering on the sacrifice and service of your faith, I am glad and rejoice with you all. In this verse, Paul sees himself as a poured out offering, but he isn't sad. He's joyful. Why? Because Paul is using a very powerful picture. In the Old Testament, the libation was a drink offering that was completely poured on the main sacrifice. Nothing was left. And Paul says, if my life is poured out this way, so your faith might grow, then it's worth it. Do you notice? Shining as light implies spending yourself for others. Just like the candle, it's consumed while illuminating. Paul doesn't live to preserve himself. He lives to give himself. And this gives a completely new meaning to what sacrifice is. Sacrifice isn't losing. It's investing life in something eternal. And that produces joy instead of sadness. When the church understands that, it stops asking and starts serving. Because true lights are not shining for themselves. They are lit to illuminate others. And a church that gives itself in this way, with joy, service, living sacrifice, doesn't just shine. It illuminates the way leading to Christ. And third, proven characters. Let's get back for a while to the orange juice. Imagine that it undergoes quality control. First sip.
It tastes like orange.
Second sip.
It has fiber.
Third sip.
It doesn't taste like refined sugar.
Final verdict. Quality control passed. Why? Because it's impeccable. Because it's not mixed. It's exactly what it claims to be. And that leads us right to Timothy. When Paul speaks of Timothy, he doesn't recommend him for his skills, his charisma, or for the many sermons he preached. Paul introduces him as someone who had passed character quality control. How does he describe him? But I trust in the Lord to send Timothy to you shortly, for I have no one like-minded who will sincerely care for your state, for all seek their own, not the things in Christ Jesus. But you know his proven character, that as a son with his father, he served with me in the gospel. Do you notice? Timothy wasn't famous, he wasn't perfect, but he was proven. Timothy had demonstrated over time that he was blameless. He lived without prejudice, that he was willing to sacrifice himself. Listen carefully. A Christian who shines in the darkness isn't the one who preaches or sings best. A Christian who shines in the dark is the one who reflects God's character right in the middle of the most difficult trial. That's where we pass heaven's quality control. God isn't calling for flashy Christians. He needs Christians with proven character. Today we learned something very clearly. Shining as the light is not about appearance, but about character. Because true light is blameless, unmixed, self-sacrificed, willing to give itself for others, and with a proven character, just like Timothy's, or like Epaphroditus', who is also mentioned in this chapter, and whom Paul called brother, fellow worker, and fellow soldier. He was the one who brought Paul's letter to the Philippians. Few remember his name, but he did shine as a star. How about you? Are you shining with the light of Christ, or are you just reflecting artificial lights? Because the world has no need of more noise. It needs more true light, and that light doesn't come from us. It comes from Christ, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of God without fault, in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as light in the world. Do you want to support our ministry so we can keep filling the internet with content that truly matters? Content that educates the whole family around the message of Christ. Scan the QR code or visit the link in the video description and support us. Remember, together we can grow more.